Do you want to see something cool?
Yes. Thank you to our final patrons, Strawbones, Red4765, Midnight Gemlord, GUIN, and Chion. Now, we're on this breakdown / review of chapter 91 of Four Knights of the... Please leave your own on the chapter in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, make sure you hit that little notification bell so you miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below in support for Frizzle as $1 a month. You know, exclusive videos, early content, and more. Also, now become a member of the channel for as little as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Now, let's hop into the last poll. So, 2 weeks ago, I ended up asking y'all a question. 7 deadly sins and 4 nights of the apocalypse. Fans, I must know, with the introduction of the ultimate, the beloved son of the father-slaying, son-stabber Ironside, do we believe there will ever be a confrontation between the heavenly child and his brother in the night of death? Or shall the two never cross paths? Pick a choice and let me know why down below. And, out of 116 votes, it was quite overwhelming in the idea of cross. They are brothers bound by blood and fate. They shall meet. With only 4% of y'all going with avoid. They are truly connected, but can never exist together. And definitely don't get me wrong. The 4% of y'all, I understand where y'all coming from, because like, I also believe that there may be something up with Diodra's existence. Like, hypothetically, if him and Percy were to ever meet, Diodra may just glitch out. Like, I'm not entirely sure, even after this chapter, if Diodra is 100% Diodra. So, it's entirely likely that he's like a living, walking illusion of what Percy was supposed to be. And then if Percy, the real one, were to ever appear in this land of secrets and illusions, it would actually just break Diodra, and Diodra would just disappear, because he's not supposed to exist. However, even with that being the case, I definitely do have to agree with the 96% chance of crossing. Like, you don't introduce a brother to the main character and never have them meet. Sure, in Dragon Ball's case, you can introduce a brother and get rid of them just as quickly, but that's after they meet. You can't have a lack of brotherly conflict in any narrative. I think it's literally just fundamentally illegal to not have two brothers at least meet up once. Will they fight? Highly doubt it. Diodra seems too weak for that. Will they have any real conflict? I don't know. I think Percy would be happy to have a brother. He probably wouldn't like get too mad unless Diodra said some hateful things about Varghese and them and stuff like that. So obviously, I don't think their conflict will be overly violent or overly confrontational, but I do believe they shall meet, and there shall be some troubles about. However, thank you so much for participating in that poll. All 116 of you, make sure you get your input in on tomorrow's poll, dropping at 12 p.m. Make sure your input is included for next week's review. Now, let's hop into Chapter 91. What's up, guys? I'm the Pencil here, and here we are for chapter 91 of Four Knights of the which is known as sorry, your throat was going crazy. Confrontation. And the thingamajig about this is that it gets, as the cool kids would say, tragic, new paddock, pretty much immediately. So we open up and we do get to see that we are still at Camelot, specifically at the weird, isolated, floating island home of Ironside. Genuinely, I still don't know how he reaches this. Does, like, a path form for him to walk every time he needs to, or something? Like, I genuinely don't know. But we do see it is there, it is strange, and it is truly chaotic. What an amazing, everlasting kingdom you created, Arthur. Such beauty and such splendor about. As if. But regardless, with that being the case, we see Ironside, you know, he ain't a young man no more. He got 2 who knows how many year old kids. He gotta be knocking it back a little bit. And he has that chaotic cacophony or of saucers or whatever he has. He's got it. And he's sipping it. Taking sips. He just looking. He just like, golly, brother, Mona me. This is hitting right now. He even got ice in that bad boy. That eternal ice. You know it's hitting right now. And he's taking a sip. and his big old chair. The thing is, though, it's just like a regular chair, and it's pretty low to the ground. It doesn't look like a comfortable chair. It looks like a mangled piece of wood put together. So I don't know how comfortable he really is, but you know that that special sauce make you feel comfortable no matter what. You could be sitting on a brick floor, and you'll feel comfortable with the right amount of chaotic juice up in you. And we see he's watching something, eyes wide open, with a slight smile on his face. And yeah, I don't know. So like, I don't know. It's just weird. Like, obviously we have Deirdre playing with two creatures. And creatures is the most apt term. Because, like, one of them does just look like a really derpy snake. Don't get me wrong. Like, the same coiling body, a mouth, eyes, all that stuff. But it just seems off. Like, Nakaba made the details just close enough that you can kind of recognize the animal, but made the details just off enough that you know that's not a snake. Like, you can feel it in your bones that something's wrong with that design. And Deirdre is sitting right on one of its humps, and golly gee willikers, I'm glad he's happy. I'm glad he's laughing. I'd be a little concerned. And by a little, I mean a lot. And by a lot, I mean totally. Because sweet mother of mercy, I do not plan to be sitting on a writhing lump of meat. I know a lot of other people would, but it's just not my forte. And also, the other creature is not much better. Because sweet mother of mercy, what is that scorpion-tailed, dragon wing having, tiger face built, looking, what is it? Like, I'm not even sure. Part of me just wants to say chimera. Like, straight up my brain is yelling, that's a chimera, dude. Isn't it obvious? But I don't know. I don't even, chimera from KH1. I remember grinding that the other day, and that's what's coming to mind. But still, what in the heck? I mean, once again, they're not hostile, so that's good, right? And, like, to be fair, if I knew it wouldn't eat me, if it got the chance, I would love to have a pet lion. I would, a full-grown one. I want Mufasa, or Simba, or Scar, or whatever. Just a full-grown lion following me around. That'd be great. I'd love it. But at the same time, I don't know whether or not those things are going to eat me. I love lions, but I ain't got the budget for one. I can't feed it top quality zebra meat to keep it satiated as I raise it. The most lion raising I would do is if you gave me a cub, and then I would like raise it up to the point where I think, okay, it can now harm me. I'm gonna send you off. But regardless of that, Deirdre is playing with them. He's even scratching the underside of the chimera's chin as it's nuzzling against them as he's sitting on that big writhing piece of meat. And with that being the case, we see that Gilthunder, he's so happy. He's so pure. He's so wonderful. Isn't he just a great son to have? So much better than a hypothetical knight of death. So much better. Aren't you happy that this is the only real son Ironside has? And in fact, Gilthunder is actually the real main character. You know, the main character is Ironside's kid. And this isn't actually chapter 91. Psych. The previous 90 chapters were just a prologue. This is actually the real chapter 1. So Deirdre's our new main character, and Ironside's our deuteragonist, and we're going to have a wonderful story of father-son bonding as Ironside trains Deirdre up to be the greatest knight of Camelot that we've ever seen. I wonder how that would go. But regardless, we do get to see, as Deirdre's all happy, nuzzling against the chimera, Ironside looks on wistfully. And notably, now that there's so much extra attention put on it, that's why that drawing looks so... Okay. Sorry, I completely blanked. So I did the drawing for the chapter already, the one that you're currently most likely watching. And for some reason, I kept looking back at it. And I'm like, for some reason, the face just doesn't seem full enough. Like, even looking at the original drawing I took from, it just doesn't seem full enough. I literally added an extra detail in there because it just didn't seem full enough. And now I know why. It's because young Ironside didn't have his mustache. He just had the beard. That's why it felt off. Golly gee willikers, man. And obviously the scar wasn't there either. But still, man, golly gee willikers. But with that being the case, he is looking wistfully at his son. And we see that Ironside, as he's looking at his beloved child, is flashing back to the past. Hold on, once again, I cannot do female voices to save my life, so give me a break. Ironside, there really is no saving him, is there? My adorable, beloved Diodra. And we flash back, and we see a much younger man pushing a cart with all of his might. No more complaining. I'm going to save you and our son. If we go to the new world King Arthur made, then you will. This is Camelot. You said it was an illusion, but look, it's real. That is not the sound that babies make. That's the same sound I made for Snake Molascula. I'm sorry, I don't know why I did that. But this already gives us very, very interesting context. And a bit of confusion on the timeline. So let's talk about it. Well, actually, you know what? We'll get to this whole little section, and I'll go back and break down why this is weird timeline-wise and stuff-wise. And overall, a whole bunch of things. Unless something different happened and Diodra is older than I think he is. But we see that Ironside arrives in Camelot, his wife's still in the cart, and now his baby's in his arms. And this baby that seemingly was still in quiet, now that's being held by Ironside, suddenly gains life. This little beloved Diodra. And as it cries very, very loudly, with much more life and energy than it was doing before. And we see Ironside with tears burgeoning in his eyes, being like, You're so stubborn. You can only cry, can't you? Infants don't know the words to express their feelings. This powerful cry is the very form of a human being trying to live. This can't possibly be an illusion. So please, watch over us. I'll raise Diodra for your sake and mine. That may have been overly melodramatic. I need to work on my voice acting skills. But regardless, we see his wife is gone. And with that being the case, Ironside is left to raise Diodra in Camelot by himself. Now, here are a couple things. Before we get to Ironside flashing back to the present from the call of his son. Weird things here. One, Ironside has a wife. And hold on, check out the live reaction on Patreon, or become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to check out the live reaction. If you are able to, I completely understand if you're not. But with that being the case, let me double check something real quick. No, the hairs are too different. So, admittedly, when I saw, let's go with the first thing, Ironside's wife, who has passed away here. She looks almost like Anne's mom, but the hairstyles are too different. So I don't think there's any connection there. So I'm not entirely sure. But interesting how she passed away once they got to Camelot, but Diodra made it. Now, I'm not saying that Arthur did this. I'm not saying that Arthur specifically manipulated Ironside to get him on his side, but it is awfully convenient that she was alive and well enough until she reached Camelot and then dropped. But then Diodra sparked into life once they got to Camelot. And the thing is, Ironside specifically notes that his wife believes that Camelot itself is an illusion and not real. Meaning she doesn't believe in Arthur. And hypothetically, considering Ironside seems to deeply love his wife here, probably she would have influenced him to not work for Arthur. And thusly, giving Ironside a new tie to Arthur, a new bond, by having him animate his son, something that doesn't have opinions, something that doesn't do anything other than do whatever Ironside says. So Ironside now has no external influences or alternate thought processes other than what Arthur tells him to do. I think it's pretty convenient that she drops on the spot and Arthur just doesn't revive her, right? Because he's able to do that, supposedly. He sold that to the people of Leonis. He said, you can reunite with the people you lost here. But he doesn't even give Ironside an illusion of his wife. Not at all. Because he knows that she could hypothetically, if not turn Ironside against him, make Ironside less willing to do things that Arthur wants. So, her leaving the living world appropriately at the perfect time when Ironside arrives to a place where she hypothetically could have survived seems kind of convenient. And this doesn't even seem out of Arthur's range to me, like manipulating people into becoming his servants. Because, like, think all the way back to Ardbeg, who appeared the very specific moment, like literally the instant after Ardbeg's village was destroyed, supposedly by just rampaging demons, and his daughter was turned to a crisp. Arthur, to recruit his power that Ardbeg hadn't even awakened yet. So who knows? It's entirely possible that Ironside had yet to become a proper knight or had any magic power at all. And you can almost tell this because in the flashback with his father, who goes unmentioned here, interestingly enough, and Anne's mom, he doesn't have his scar yet, and he looks about the same age. So that at least makes me believe that Ironside was not from the original Camelot. He wasn't even from, and he definitely obviously isn't from the new Camelot. And thusly, he came into Arthur's fold much, much later, like literally post-chaos later, which is a lot different than what I thought. But that also explains the seeming lack of Ironside in the original narrative. He just straight up wasn't there yet. He wasn't there until Arthur got the powers of chaos. Very, very interesting. Once again, this is strange, but it would not be out of Arthur's wheelhouse to simply have his wife pass away so he can control Ironside completely, because now the only thing that Ironside has left in the world, supposedly, I still don't know about Percy's situation here, we'll get into that in a little bit, but supposedly Ironside is here now. And with that being the case, he now has to rely on Arthur to keep his only hope, his son Theodora, alive. Because if Theodora leaves Camelot, or Ironside rebels against Camelot, then Theodora goes. And Theodora's the only thing that Arthur, well, not the only thing that Arthur has, but the only thing that Ironside has in his life that's left, considering he does not care about Percival at all. And that leads into the next thing. So this child is clearly Theodora. Like, we've seen baby Percival. We saw him in the flashbacks, and we've seen him in volume extras. We know what baby Percival looks like. Baby Percival, this is not. This is very specifically Theodora. But with that being the case, is this baby even real? Like, part of me wants to believe we literally have his wife in a cart. We literally see her talking about Theodora. This has to be a real baby. And the whole idea of his fragility could come from the fact that he was animated by Camelot, but that doesn't mean he was made by Camelot. He may not be a real illusion in of himself. He just is living off, like, illusion powers, the illusion juice. And if so, that makes sense. And, I could see it being interesting. But in this case, how old is Theodora then? And did Ironside get a new wife? Because looking back once again at that flashback that we get in chapter 23, after the Ironside battle, he doesn't have Percy, seemingly, and he doesn't seem to have a wife anymore, obviously, because now we know his wife passed away with Theodora. But Varghese is still there. Varghese is still right there, and Percival assumedly disappears within the same time frame. But why? I don't know. This is very weird timeline-wise, because I thought Theodora and Percival would be the same age, like they were twins or something. But we know it can't be the case that they're twins, because baby Percival is taken away immediately by Varghese. But Varghese is still here right now. It doesn't even seem like Ironside is in service to Arthur at the time of when Percival should be born, unless Ironside got a new Camelot wife and made Percival, and then Varghese took him. Which may be the case. We don't know Theodora's actual age. We just got introduced to him. But I would assume he's the same age as the rest of our cast. But if he's older, interesting. Who's Ironside's second wife? Why did he not like him? Did the prophecy start up way earlier than I thought it did? I don't know. There are definitely questions about this timeline and how old Theodora is, and like when certain things happen and what affairs are true and what's really true at all with what happens later in this chapter. Very, very interesting. I like that Nakaba is sort of just throwing a whole bunch of concepts at us, and it's sort of pretty much up to us to piece it together. This information is very scattershot and unclear, which is fun. I like breaking down stuff like this. And we do get to see that Ironside, back in the present, is being called for by his beloved son. And He seems to be falling asleep in Diodra's eyes, so he's like, Father, if you fall asleep here, you'll catch a cold.
You're right.
Going back to Britannia today?
Yes, I have a mission. It's a scary world out there, full of danger. So don't ever think about going out there, you hear?
Yeah, I know. But, Father, you should really take a rest after sipping that za, shouldn't you?
I certainly plan to. I wish I could show you how kind and honest Dioldra has become. Just like you.
Dog, your other son's kind and honest too, but you put a spear through him. Well, not a spear. You put a sword through him. And like a magic cross. Like, dog, what? Like, I'm just so weirdly confused. Interesting, though there are a couple interesting things here. One, Ironside implies that Dioldra actually could leave Camelot, which is strange. He tells Dioldra not to, but it's very interesting that it's implied here that Dioldra could leave, hypothetically, if he wants to. So, and this is just like definitely ramshot spitting into the future with no real preconceived notion of evidence or anything like that. But, big old booty butt cheeks. It's entirely possible that this link, this way to get into Britannia, or not Britannia, this way to leave Britannia and get to Camelot will not be through a captured Chaos Knight. It'll be through Dioldra. Coming out into the real world, disobeying his father luckily for the first time in his life, meeting his brother, and his brother being like, hey, you're from Camelot? Yeah. Oh, wow, the air out here is really hard to breathe. Can we go back? Oh yeah, no problem. Let me just call my friends. Teleport beads all in, they all go into Camelot. And we could have this whole plot about how Dioldra and Percival meet and sort of balance each other out, because it seems that Percival has an excess of life while Dioldra is very much lacking in it, to the point where he needs Camelot to sustain himself and survive. So with that being the case, I could definitely see an interesting dichotomy, and I could see Dioldra being the key to getting in, because I don't know, I just don't think any Chaos Knights would actually like allow themselves to be captured long enough to allow themselves to be used to get to Camelot. It just seems out of character, and I can definitely see Dioldra not wanting I can see Ironside not wanting Dioldra to meet his brother, because conflicts could occur and stuff like that. However, with that being the case, we do cut away from the father and son duo, and we are back with Merlin. For some reason, my mate. I was going to say Gawain so loudly, so proudly. Merlin, Guinevere, and Arthur. And we see Arthur, and This panel just seems Arthur. Their limbs seem shorter than they should be. The only person who looks like proportionally correct is Gawain. For some reason, Merlin looks weird to me, and Arthur looks weird to me in this one specific panel, and then they look fine for the rest of the chapter. And I can't even really say that's like drawn poorly. It just seems like their dimensions are different than what they usually are. However, we get to see as they rise on this weird corkscrew platform, Arthur's like, well, Princess Guinevere of Cameliard. First, please, allow me to apologize for bringing you to my country by force. And we see that Guinevere is like, apologize? Don't make me laugh. You spare me from telling me anything you think spur of the moment. Don't you know he'd say that, though? Miss, I see the entire future, and I know it was a better idea to go straight into the arms of the enemy instead of just going with the person who would help me. What happened? Miss Clairvoyant Future Sight, who knows everything and is better than ever. I really don't like Gwen. I'm sorry. And from a plot device perspective, I don't like Gwen, because I hate messing with time stuff. Time stuff is so stupidly complicated. My favorite video game series, well, Pokemon and it are in a constant battle. It's really a race to the bottom at this point. But one of my favorite video game series, Kingdom Hearts, when it introduced time travel, it became nothing but a massive, throbbing headache. And this isn't even time travel, it's just future stuff. But future stuff, headaches, dumb, don't like it. Just should have kept it vague like Bartra. But with that being the case, we see Arthur laugh in the face of this person. And we see that Arthur's like, hey, you listen here. Aren't you being a little disrespectful for the king of an entire country? Arthur, you have a separate world. That's a little bit more than a country, but regardless. Why shouldn't I be? I don't even think of you as a king.
So why do you call me King Arthur, then?
Because I just simply don't want to call you Arthur like we're friends or on friendly terms or something. Like what?
Once again,
I am very distinctly separated from Arthurian mythology. Despite being a massive Seven Deadly Sins fan, the most on Arthurian mythology I got was from Overly Sarcastic Productions videos on them. Go check them out. They're amazing. Once again, I say it all the time, but if you found me, you probably found them. They're great. Go do. And if you haven't, go find out. That's the most I get out of King Arthur's narrative. That's the most I know. And with that being the case, is Guinevere this insufferable? Normally? Like, is this just a part of the mythos? Is she just annoying? Or am I just missing something? Please tell me, do you all guys think Guinevere is annoying, or am I just being harsh? I may just be being harsh. I don't know. Maybe it's my like bias against time travel as a concept and my own preconceived notions against the kind of writing that Nakaba is doing right now with Guinevere, with a whole bunch of various factors. But it's just not my forte. I don't like it. But with this being the case, we see that Arthur just finds her like amusing at most, not threatening, not scary, barely even useful. He's like, I see. What an amusing little lady you are. Now then, princess, this way. If you don't mind, let's get to know each other next. Fine.
Okay, so you're gonna become friendly with him, I guess. I mean, realistic. This thing is, once again, I need to see these drastic, fate-destroying altercations that she's really worried about. Because I still don't get how walking directly into the enemy stronghold is at all a better choice than what could have happened. Like, seriously, I just don't get it. I do not get it. How is feeding the enemy vital information going to be useful? We're gonna have to make a video. The video is gonna have to be separate. We do get to see that she's asked what her favorite food is, and Guinevere's like, do you need to ask that? Dude, he literally just said he wants to get to know you better. Food is important. You need to eat. And we see that Arthur's like, oh yeah, I plan on having you supporting Camelot from now on after all. Whoa. My body just rebelled. But, oh yeah, I cannot read. Yep, I plan on having you supporting Camelot from now on after all. Not as a prisoner of war, of course, but as an important guest. We'll give you all the freedom and power you can have. Notably, notice that wording. All the freedom and power you can have. So not all of it. You won't be free and totally in control, but you'll have as much as you're allowed, which is nice. A subtle show of power from Arthur, really. Like, yeah, you're here as a guest, but realistically, you are nothing unless I deem it so. And I like that. Once again, villain Arthur, even if it is chaos, is my favorite interpretation of Arthur and literally my favorite villain so far. So I can still respect, even though he got stepped on. He did get stepped on. Let me not push that down. He did in fact get stepped on. I still can respect him. And we see that Guinevere asks, so I can be your bride. Are you a blank? I'm not going to say it. You can read the chapter. And I guess that word exists. Once again, you're not going to see me making a video on this word. Like, I made a video on the word Nephilim because I thought it was really, really interesting. It could, like, hint at a lot of demon goddess lore and stuff like that, and could hype up possible future paths for Tristan and stuff like that. Like, I thought maybe that could be interesting. The word that Guinevere uses here is just strange. I'm not sure. I'm not going to look up the etymology of the word and see how old it is. Who knows? Maybe it's older than Arthurian legend. Maybe in 5000 BC, people were this. But, and the weird thing is, how is that even a thing in this time period? If we're being historically accurate, this is normal. I don't think it is, but if we're being historically accurate, this is what people do normally. So what's the problem? How is this, because like this word typically in context, I wouldn't say it's a positive thing in our modern day. So transplanting this backwards into this time period destroys all quote unquote historical accuracy that Nakaba's going for. Because she shouldn't know the word. 2, it shouldn't matter. This is normal, right? 32 and 12.
It's normal. So I don't get why she's so shocked that this is the case, if this is just what people do at this time period, because I've been told multiple times this is just normal at the time. So I should not complain. I'm sorry. So I'm never going to get over it. But with that being the case, bless Arthur's heart, dog. He just went from, we just dropped a case. We just went from the 8 deadly aberrations to the 7 deadly cases. And I can work with that wholeheartedly. Because Arthur, bless his chaos-infected heart, says, a bride is just how you look to the people. Even a king has to keep up appearances. All I want is your power of prophecy. I'm not interested in a child. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm not nuts. So this isn't normal. So all of y'all can go eat whatever your favorite food is. Like, I don't know. Like, I get it. Once again, this is just a culture difference, but I don't even think it's a culture difference anymore. Like, unless Arthur's suddenly being influenced by chaos and finds the conventions of the time weird, it is just weird. So this is just strange. This is just a weird writing choice that Nakba made. Because, I don't know, maybe y'all do your best to spin an argument that this is still normal, even though Arthur seems far from interested in the concept. I can definitely see how this could be considered a double entendre, where he means he's not interested in any kid as in a biological child, and not necessarily like he wouldn't annihilate Guinevere if he had the chance, because he's interested in that. Like, maybe I can see a reading of it like that, and if so, there you go. Then maybe he, if it were some other case, he still would get down and dirty with someone 20 years younger than him, and he's only 32. You do the math on that. But at least to me, this more so implies that he just does not like children. Like, you shouldn't. Almost like the historical accuracy argument was weird and dumb. But, you know, whatever. Your brain doesn't fully develop until you're 26, by the way. But regardless, we do get to see that Guinevere mocks Arthur. Because, yes, you mock the all-powerful chaos being that stands in front of you. Like, I don't know. It's something I just never get in narratives. Like, if you are comparative to who you are, speaking with, powerless, completely out of your league, like legitimately ant to an elephant level of comparisons, if we're talking about just raw stats, raw statisticals, why would you talk smack? Like, I don't know. At least to me, it seems like something I wouldn't do. The value of that, I wouldn't risk it. It just isn't worth the risk at that point. Because I could just perish. Like, once again, realistically, Arthur doesn't need the power of prophecy. He's still the strongest. Or at least for all intents and purposes, he should be at his full power. So he doesn't really need it. You're just a general asset. You're like, what's a comparison? What's an easy comparison? So like me, I have markers that I use for my drawings. My name is that guy with the pencil. I don't need markers. A marker can't talk smack to me and not expect to get snapped in half and thrown away. Same thing here. All Guinevere is a marker. Arthur already has the pencil. He's already drawn up the plot without her. He was for these past 16 years. So, Guinevere, you are nothing but an extra asset that can be very easily liquidated. In fact, I'm genuinely shocked Arthur just doesn't... tasty. Power prophecy. Like, I know it probably doesn't work like that, but he's got to have some ability to at least mimic magics or something like that. Like, I still think when you break it down to its purest forms, especially considering Arthur doesn't seem to care about his men passing away, I still think chaos somewhat works like the Almighty, where, like, if the right conditions are met, he can get the powers of those who fall in his name, and thusly he could hypothetically just absorb their abilities. Why he wanted Ardbeg's power, because realistically it's a useful power to have, but Ardbeg wasn't much of a combatant. He wasn't even a knight beforehand. So having his power directly as one of Arthur's abilities would be great. Ironside's ability would be great. Pelgar's ability would be great if they all just perish and come back to Arthur. At least their magics. However, we do get to see that Guinevere, for some reason, pokes the bear and is like, oh, you already have someone on your mind, don't you? A certain someone you want by your side so much you made an illusion of her. Now this, once again, I'm going to plug the live reaction. Do not feel bad if you cannot afford it. I completely understand. I couldn't afford it either. But with that being the case, we see that Guinevere mocks Arthur for this person that we saw him trying to suck on the fingers of last chapter. And it's revealed that this Merlin is in fact an illusion. And so now I'm not saying I definitely wasn't spitting. I was about to be like General and be like, I wasn't spitting, but I was spitting once. But no, I wasn't spitting. I missed this entirely. So this just isn't Merlin. This isn't Merlin. Specifically, I made a video a little bit back talking about how Merlin just seems so strange, so out of character. No speaking, hypothetically, no scar, no opinions, nothing. Nothing at all. It just seemed weird. It seemed out of character for a character who barely had any character from the previous series. So I was just definitely wondering, like, what's up with Merlin? What's going on? Is she planning? She plotting? She watching? She lurking? And technically, I could still be right. The real Merlin could be planning and plotting and lurking and scheming all in the background, trying to have chaos take over and stuff like that. All the stuff that I mentioned in that video. But having it confirmed 91 chapters deep that this Merlin we've seen isn't actually the real one and is essentially just a dress-up doll for Arthur to... That's weird, because, like, Freud was right. At least in the case of Arthur, Freud was right, because Merlin was essentially Arthur's mom. At least from my understanding, she literally helped raise him and turn him into the full-grown man he is today. So I don't know, him trying to get in where he can fit in with that is kind of weird. But I suppose it's also even weirder that when the real one, I guess, disappeared or something, we'll talk about it in a little bit, you make an illusion of her. Ew. And you suck his fingers, and it's just strange. It's just very, very, very strange. But, you know, I guess Arthur, he's a chaotic fellow. Ha 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 ha. He needs help. Mental. A lot of mental help. But with that being the case, we see that Guinevere goes on to recite one of the heroic 7 deadly sins. Merlin, the boar sin, the greatest sorceress in Britannia, and your mentor, his mom. He wants to pipe his... Okay, sorry. But not bad for an illusion. Such a pitiful man you are, making an illusion of someone whose heart you can never have. I was about to make... You know what? I know a lot of people who, if they had the same powers of Arthur, would do the exact same thing, if not worse. But regardless of that, we do get to see that mocking does not go unpunished, because golly gee willikers, bruh, out of nowhere, from the Randy Orton RKO out of nowhere, a tentacle, of course it's a tentacle, it always has to be a suction cup tentacle, it's just anime and manga, ladies and gentlemen, but a suction cup tentacle comes out of nowhere and pierces this Merlin straight in the chest. And Guinevere, what's wrong, Guinevere? Was this not in your dreams? Did you not see this with your perfect clairvoyance? Huh? Why you look shocked and surprised? You should have known this was going to happen from angering a deity. You stupid Karen. You idiot. I bet, once again, I'm going to make a long shot guess. I bet by the end of the series, Guinevere is going to be one of my favorite characters. I bet. And I'm going to come back to these reviews years later. Like, it's still so hard to believe that Fortnite has been coming out for 2 years now. I'm really 2 years deep into this. I'm probably like 4 or 5 years down the line, if it goes on for as long as 7 Deadly Sins went on, I'm going to be like, you know what? I was way too harsh on early Guinevere. It was just setting up for this character arc that we're getting here and now. Realistically, she's the best character in the verse. Probably, but right now, considering these reactions and reviews are my live thoughts given to you in a video format for time capsule purposes, these are my live thoughts. Guinevere's so stupid. Hate the character. But regardless, we do get to see that. Obviously, no beings usually take a stab to the chest from a manga tentacle that well, and Merlin coughs up the life juice, and Arthur hits us with, hold on, let me,
I don't hate your strong-headed personality, but remember this. There are some things people can and cannot bring up.
And we see that Arthur has not only activated the Chaos Eyes, but now he is flanked by these multiple disgusting creatures. One with a big, massive flesh tentacle that pierced the fake Merlin, and another with a long mouth, a long mouth with a tongue that's drooling out. And this weird, multi-headed monster thing lashes out with all these other spikes, and they just tear into the fake Merlin, absolutely annihilating her, getting her body juices everywhere. And we see that Arthur goes on to say,
I was trying to have fun, believing she was real, but you just had to spoil my mood. And Guinevere watches in shock and surprise,
which still doesn't make sense according to her power, which really makes me believe she's just dumb. But regardless, we see that the fake Merlin, now with multiple holes on her body, fades away. The illusion disappears. And it's revealed that this fake Merlin was actually a fairy, like a living, breathing creature that Guinevere just got slaughtered because she couldn't keep her mouth shut. But with that being the case, Arthur questions,
thought she was an illusion, did you? Well, let me tell you something. Illusions are boring, because you can't feel them, you know. That was just a fairy I was holding captive.
What? And the thing is, this long mouth, ugly, built like, I'm not even sure what it's built like disgusting thing, it eats the fairy. It eats the remains. It slurps it up. Where does it go? Oh, like, Nakaba's just gotten disgusting. Like, don't get me wrong, Seven Deadly Sins definitely had some moments in the manga where I look back and I'm like, what? Like, why did you draw this? What in the, like, what came across your mind? But it looks like Arthur is just allowing Nakaba to take the weird, crazy, out there factor to the next level. And it's not even close in comparison to what it was. Like, jeez, this is disgusting. And we see that Arthur is looking at Guinevere as she grips her fists with all the power she has, none. And it's like, the day will come when you realize, King Arthur, you want to use my kaleidoscope to make Britannia your own, but it's not going to be that convenient. Why wouldn't it be? You're here. You are here. You're not out of reach. You didn't fight back. You literally came packaged like he DoorDash ordered you. We're not sponsored by DoorDash, by the way. DoorDash, if you want to sponsor me, though, I greatly appreciate it. But with that being the case, Guinevere, what power do you have in this scenario? If he can do that on a whim, he blinked, barely probably, and absolutely annihilated the illusion or the fake Merlin you had to point out. What makes you think, even if you suddenly provided resistance that you didn't before, that he couldn't torture it out of you and keep you very much alive? What makes you think you don't make his job easier? What makes you think that? What evidence? What is your proof? What are the supporting documents to your thesis right now, Guinevere? Because I'm just not seeing it. You need to come up with a better argument. Because right now, your self-righteousness just doesn't make sense. Because you literally allowed yourself to come here. You didn't fight back. You went. You could have stalled this out. You could have waited. Because Ironside, you could have just scared off Ironside and then wandered off on your own. But you took yourself directly to Arthur. You took yourself directly to the King of Chaos. What makes you think his job won't be easy now that he has the power of the literal future at his disposal? I don't know. Once again, super dumb character. Once again, I ask for your opinions on Gwen in the comment section. I want full essays down there. Give me full things, defender, attacker, whatever. I just want to see them, mainly because I haven't really been able to get a pulse on the general reception of Guinevere in the community outside the cases thing with Lancelot, and now, well, no longer Arthur anymore. Now that Arthur's confirmed that he's not a case lord, but with that being the case, like, what are the thoughts? Because I don't know. Even in the comment section, the only thing I see about Guinevere is the controversy, and I understand. I bring a lot of attention to that because that's the main thing that bothers me about the character, alongside the plot breaking stuff and her own stupid actions. But that's the thing. I view the actions as stupid. If y'all can see some great grand plan that Guinevere has, please let me know in the comment section. I'd rather not dislike characters, but right now, very much filled with dislike. And we do get to see that Arthur is me. And admittedly, maybe him and I are both wrong, but he asks,
how is it not convenient? If I can see the future, then I can cheat any fate and claim victory. Am I wrong?
And we see Guinevere, once again, the whole 12-year-old. I'm sorry, I still can't get over it. I need to see this crazy dark fate she suddenly believes in. But Guinevere randomly claims, once again, if you defy fate, you'll end up paying an even greater price. Do you know what that means? No, Guinevere, because you haven't given us anything about that. You haven't proven that to us. Everything requires a burden of proof, and you have yet to prove to me that anything you've done is actually valid to avoid a worse fate. Because right now, it seems like we are in the bad timeline. The King of Chaos, the strongest and most diverse character in the entire verse, who happens to be the main villain at the moment, now has access to all the future information he could want, because you did not decide to go with any allies, you did not decide to fight back even in the slightest over some vague, dark future. You're dumb. But we do get to see that Arthur, now back to normal, says, that I'll hesitate if you persuade me. Oh, you think that I'll hesitate if you persuade me with something like that? More importantly, Guinevere, show me what this kaleidoscope power of yours can do. Right now. Or else. I think you know this. I think you know this, but no lies, okay? I can tell. And if you do lie, I will erase you. And we do get to see, like, Guinevere's like, very well, I'll tell you one thing that will happen very soon. Why? Like, questions endlessly. Lance, no. 10 people, plus the strongest character in the verse, Sylvan, the 4 Knights of the Apocalypse and their companions, and the goat, will leave Leonis 2 days after I disappear, searching for a way to cross over into Camelot. They will aim for Dalmare, where the highway runs north, south, east, and west. Along the way, they will spend the night at Walnock. Gogmagog. I can't say that word, especially not in this voice. Gogmagog, the inn where they will stay during the Walnock's annual Festival of the Dead. Festival of the Dead? What? That just clicked for me. Only has 3-person rooms and a single 2-person room. The 3 girls will share a single room, while the rest will decide through rock, paper, scissors from there. And Lancelot will be the sole loser, somehow, and stay in the 2-person room by himself. 2 of your lackeys, Macduff? Are we getting a Shakespeare reference in Four Knights of the Apocalypse? Macduff and Tianik? Tinanik? I'm really not sure how to say their name. Are there. They'll promptly notice the presence of the 4 knights and their companions and plan to end their lives. However, Lancelot alone will see through them and rout them out. The other 9 will enjoy the festival, unaware of what happened, and they'll all leave for Dalmare the next day. Such a darn shame for you, you idiot. You certified, licensed, bona fide, top of the line, registered, unparalleled, beyond creation level idiot. You could have just said they were leaving Leonis in 2 days and kept it as vague as possible. You gave him everything. You gave him their address, their social security number, their bank accounts, their credit cards, their debit card. Like, what was the point of being that specific? You could have been vague. You could have just been vague and said they're leaving in 2 days. You didn't have to tell them where they were going to go. You didn't have to tell them any of that. No, you snitched everything. You gave him every single car fact he would need. He now knows which car went through a bad accident history and now which one he needs to buy. Come on now, really, Gwen? Common sense. But then again, this is a 12-year-old. What kind of logic do I expect from a 12-year-old? Oh wait, no, she's not 12. She's 71 apparently. Just in a 12-year-old body. How are you this stupid? Do you really? And like, once again, was this not just part of the dream? I guess the future she sees is not set in stone. So she is just dumb for coming there. Because she could have literally just changed the future. It's likely no regard. Because well, we'll get to it. We see that after she mockingly tells Arthur that it's such a shame that he won't be able to do anything about everything he literally just got the Carfax on, Arthur sweats and is like, Nani? And it's like, that's amazing. This is next level. I can't believe you're this stupid. Your kaleidoscope is that specific? And Gwen proceeds to explain that she could have... Well, no. Arthur's reaction here literally just proves she could have lied and he wouldn't have known. Or at least have been vague. Because at least based on his reaction, she clearly could have just told him something extremely vague and he wouldn't have known any better. He was literally trying to figure out how it worked. He just didn't understand it properly. She could have just said they're leaving in 2 days or give a vague thing. Maybe he could have been able to tell if she was lying, but an omission of truth should be different than that. And considering his shock here, he easily could have been misinformed or misled or something like that. But then she proceeds to clarify her magic for him. You could have just lied and said it was vague. But she very specifically says, not always. Most of the time, it comes to me in pieces. All I do is dream about it. And then Arthur, with a grin on his face, says,
Can you hear me, Orlandi? If there are any personnel near Walnut, let them head straight there. The 4 Knights of the Apocalypse and company will be stopping by Gunganagog.
And Guinevere is somehow shocked about this. What? This wasn't part of the future? What's wrong, Guinevere? I thought you were all well and prepared for everything. I thought this was the right thing to do. But oh no, looks like your dreams are not perfect. Shock horror. Maybe you shouldn't have gone directly into the arms of the enemy, getting the one person you love put in extreme danger. Because now he's about to be jumped. Not by 2 people, but by like 50. If I'm Arthur, I'm sending everybody. The whole squad. You're telling me they left the safety of Leonis? I don't have to deal with Meliodas anymore? And the only present threat is Lancelot? Heck, forget it. I'm not just sending all my men there. Ironside, Pelgard, the 2 guys she mentioned, and more. I'm sending myself. I will box Lancelot while the rest of the knights just perish. I don't even need to take care of Lancelot. I just need to stall Lance out as my other people take care of the rest of the knights. They aren't strong enough yet. Body bag them. You send a few chaotic commandments their way too. Do whatever it takes to get rid of them. And this is only possible because Arthur was literally told exactly what happened from Guinevere. And she's somehow shocked about this. So I'm guessing this wasn't in her dreams. This wasn't in the original timeline. How wonderful, how amazing. She's just so stupid. Do I respect Arthur? Yes. Do I understand that this is Guinevere literally just being a plot device to make the plot move forward? Also yes. However, I don't judge characters by their plot device level. I judge them by how much I like their character and how smart I think they are in most cases. In this case, Arthur's playing his cards super well. He's doing everything he should do, except for maybe like show up and stop them himself. He's doing everything that he should do. Gwen's dumb. And we see that Arthur is like, he's smiling, grinning, cheesing left and right. She's like, didn't you hear a word I said? If you defy fate, there'll be a huge price to pay. And Arthur's like,
You never know until you try, right?
And like, yeah, Gwen, what, like, here's the thing. If it was the same Arthur from the previous series, the human dude, I could definitely understand worrying about a hypothetical price to pay. But like, what price is too expensive for the guy who can make money? Like, put it into that perspective. It's like telling the government of your nation, hey, if you don't do specifically as I say, then you're not gonna have enough money. And the government will simply say to you, hi, dum-dum, I make the money. If there's not enough, I'll just make more. And the same thing is here with Chaos Arthur. What price is too high to pay? The only price that could be too high for him to pay is him somehow losing Chaos. That's it. That is it. The end. That's the worst that could happen to him. And that's pretty much impossible. Mainly because seemingly the only people who are strong enough to do it can't invade the realm. And the one who can invade the realm needs a way in. That doesn't seem like it's going to happen. And even if it does, I do not think they're going to beat Arthur in his own realm. Just seems extremely unlikely to me. So, with that being the case, Gwen, you're dumb, very stupid, very slow. I cannot believe you are this much of a dumb stupid head, and I can't wait for you to be locked in the tower for Lance to come find you. And we do get to see that she's now worried for Lancelot, even though supposedly this should all be in her dreams. I guess not. I guess she's just dumb for coming directly to Arthur and giving her information that puts the one person she cares about in extreme danger. Shock horror. However, we do get to see, we cut back to the knights in their group. And we see Tristan, he's like, my fault, Lance. It really be like that when it be like that sometimes.
Papa, you know, he really be meddling in at the worst times. He really be like that when he be like that sometimes. And Lance is like, whatever, don't worry about it. Never thought I'd go back to Benwick without being ordered to. Anyway, so I got ordered to. I'll head back to Benwick. Whatever. And we see, yo, I love the translator on this one. Even the translator's like, yo, I just hate this dude. But Chion's like, please be cursed, please be cursed, please be cursed, please be cursed, please be cursed. And Jade is even looking on like, dude, what is wrong with you? Like, Chion, you were well, no, he wasn't there. He wasn't there. He was in the castle. So maybe you didn't see it. But why? Why do you want the saviors of Britannia to end up in a cursed land? Dog, you realize if they lose, you die. Or you lose Lance or any of the other knights, and Tristan, the #1 meat muncher, or no, you're his #1 meat muncher. He goes if they go, right? Do you really want that, Chion? You stupid head. But here's the thing: Chion's an entertaining stupid head. Guinevere's just dumb, and we see that Anne notes that, oh, this is the place, isn't it? And Percival's like, golly gee willikers, fellas, look at the size of that wall. It's so girthy. And Donny and nasiens say, Walnack, and they arrived Walnack, which for some reason, despite being called Walnack, I didn't expect to just be a literal town with a wall. What is it? That reminds me of the walls of Jericho or something like that old city that had a big walls around it. But instead of being the walls of Jericho, since we already have Jericho in the narrative, we have Walnack. And now their curiosity for a brand new town has got their blood pumping. Next chapter is heart-pounding Walnack, and King Arthur's assassins lie in wait for the 4 knights and their companions, who've come to Walnack. Admittedly, I don't think this is going to work out anyway, as much as I ragged on GUIN for like giving up the game and giving them all the information that they need to be there. Something in my heart of hearts just tells me logistically it wouldn't make sense for any of them to perish this soon. I don't think we're going to have any perishings until we get to the separated groups. I don't think we're going to have any of that because we still have characters to develop. We still have more time. We still have Lance here. We still have the plot breaker Lance. There's so many things that will hold off the inevitable, essentially, at least in my mind. However, overall, I will say this. The chapter was very, very good. Even if your boy definitely is not for Guinevere, the rest of the chapter's heat. #1, seeing Ironside and turning him into a somewhat sympathetic villain. I like that. Obviously, seeing his motivation, seeing him care for his son, seeing this extra dimension to him, gives him an extra dimension. It makes him twice as deep as any of the major big bads or any of the specific rival antags from the previous series. This chapter alone has made Ironside deeper than the Demon King will ever be. Same thing with the Supreme Deity. And that's really, really good. Seeing more of Deirdre, seeing more of his life and his lifestyle and his companions, very, very interesting. I think this is definitely building to a whole plot of Deirdre being the reason the knights can even get into Camelot. I think that makes a lot of sense just for the narrative progression that we're going to be going at and how it's being set up that he needs to stay in Camelot to survive, but he may or may not leave. You know, I think that's very, very interesting. Obviously, seeing Ironside's wife is cool. There are definitely a whole bunch of questions raised timeline-wise, like how old is Deirdre, what's going on with his lifespan and stuff like that. Why did Ironside come here and get that scar and grow out his mustache and all that? Like, there are definitely questions that are raised by this. Obviously, one of the biggest questions is, where's Percy? Why's Percy? How's Percy? Like, when did he get conceived? When was he born? Where is Varghese? Varghese isn't even mentioned in this flashback, though he is also portrayed to be a knight under Arthur at this time period, or at least reasonably around this time period. So his whole missing presence here is also a major mystery that needs to be solved, and I like that. Obviously, the biggest, at least to me, the biggest thing in this chapter isn't Deirdre, isn't the extra context for Ironside. It's none of that. The biggest thing for me is actually the revelation that the real Merlin is not here. She is missing. She is gone. Wherever she is could be a couple different things. I'll make a video talking about that, but for some light ideas right now, she could hypothetically be locked up by Arthur, so she can't escape. She's just locked in a basement in Camelot until she supports Arthur again. And or she just escaped because she didn't like what Arthur did, and now she's currently in hiding, running about, trying to fix the mistakes she made, and or just trying to free chaos to be chaos for chaos's sake. I do feel bad for the fairy, but once again, This is very, very good at building up Arthur as what he really is. A proper villain, a true antag. Bro's a monster, a beast, a demon, and he's summoning monsters, beasts, and demons. So I think it's really, really cool to see that extra attention to detail. Gwen being dumb is Gwen being dumb. You can't, I'm not going to fight that or defend that. If y'all can defend it and fight it, please do in the comment section. I want to know how this was at all a good idea in the slightest. I can't see it. And obviously, finally, seeing our big old group of knights who are rights and tall and small and all in between arrive to Walnack. Very, very good. Obviously, the foreshadowing for the next arc, very, very interesting. I think we're going to get a massive group battle now that we have all 10 here, now that they all are combatants, now that a whole bunch of them are here and ready for battle and combat. We're probably going to see more Gawain. We're probably going to see more of the Tristan platoon in action. And I think that's very, very good. You got to flesh these characters out if you want me to care when you get rid of these characters, which I feel like is pretty much inevitable. However, overall, I think the chapter is very, very good. A solid 9 out of 10. However, that's what I think. Please tell me what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that little notification bell so you miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below and support for as low as $1 a month. Exclusive videos, early content, and more. Also, down below, remember the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Dagger the Pencil, writing off.